He used this house as a kind of prison for him. What's gonna happen to it?
The house will be repossessed by the bank in 5 days.
Dad said nobody goes in. Nobody goes in.
Peter, do you know what's behind that door?
Now, what most people do when they walk into a room, they just try to light it and get all kinds of light in there and flood everything out, make it look really flat. The problem with that is if you watch other movies, it just doesn't look natural. You have to have highlights and shadows in there to kind of shake things up a little bit. So what we did in this movie is to try to use a light source that looked a little more natural, like a window. So what we did in this shot is we put two 2,000 watt lights outside of that window behind some tracing paper and shot it through. So that way it looks like the sun is actually on the other side of that window shooting light in through the curtains, which kind of helps diffuse it and gives a nice natural soft light from them. And then we also have a light behind the father, which gives a little bit of the hair light, which is that white little light on the back of the side of his head that separates him from the wall. Once you do that, it kind of makes the character seem a little more alive, much like having a light in their eyes, like the one that's in mine right now, kind of brings the characters alive, gives them a little bit of depth and a little spark. One of the other things you have to do when you're planning out the shots with the director and the gaffer is you have to decide where the light's going to come from, because it needs to remain consistent throughout the rest of that scene. If the light keeps bouncing around, it's going to be hard for the editor to cut, and people will start noticing that the light's going to jump around. So what we like to do is decide one definite source where light's going to continue to come from and try to plan shots around like that. So here in this shot, we have the window light coming from there, and we know that we can shoot in that direction with the tracing paper on there without ever seeing the light. So that gives us a lot of freedom to be able to move around. Another element to be aware of when you're shooting your movie is what the color temperature of the light is. You'll notice that a normal light bulb that you have inside your house, when you turn it on in a movie, it's going to look a little orange because it's a little bit warmer, and that's kind of what the color temperature is about. Natural daylight will look a little bit bluer, but if you have the two in the same shot, it looks a little funny. It doesn't exactly look right and natural. So what you have to decide is how you're going to balance those and use those to your advantage. The reason they call it color temperature is because the light is actually burning, and the hotter that burning is, the more blue it's going to be. The sun, which is just a big ball of flame, is burning blue because it's very warm, but your little incandescent light bulb inside of a household lamp is not burning as warm as you might think it is, and that's what gives it that kind of orangish glow to it. So in order to be able to balance those out, use some gels, which come in fractions, quarters, halves, fulls, and right here we have a half blue. In order to use one of these, what you have is if you have like a warm light bulb, much like the light we have on me right now, it's just a household light bulb, but has a little bit of a blue gel to it to be able to balance with those lights that are coming in from the window behind me. This is an orange gel, which you can use to do the opposite of what the blue gel did. If you want to be able to make those windows match the light bulbs that are inside, you put this on the window and it'll be able to match things out. Sometimes you have to play around with the different kinds of gels and the different amounts just to be able to balance it out and get the right amount of blue and orange in the scene that you want. A lot of times when they shoot in studio settings, they have lights that can come down from above on large racks that they can just attach the lights to and have them out of the way. But since we were shooting in a real location, we had to try to mimic some of those lighting patterns and be able to use the kind of freedom that you can get from putting the lights up high. One of the lights you can see in the background is just a normal table lamp, which we have an average light bulb in, and then in the kitchen we also have a light bulb in there that's normal. But the things that you don't see really are doing most of the work. Above the table, directly above them, are two paper lanterns that have 250 watt light bulbs inside of them. Around them is a piece of black fabric that's about a foot tall and runs about a foot away from the paper lanterns all the way around the two bulbs together. It forms a very large soft box, which gives a really nice soft light, but the black fabric cuts the light off the walls, which makes it look a little bit more natural. If you have your main subject and your background have the same different contrast ratio of lighting and darkness, things look kind of flat, especially on video. So you want to try to either make the background a little darker or the foreground a little darker, just to add a little bit of a difference in the look of the film. One of the important things that a lot of people forget to do before they go into production for a movie is to do a couple different little test shots. It makes you as the camera operator and cinematographer a little bit more comfortable, a little more relaxed. So you get on set, you know what your camera can do. To save you a little bit of embarrassment, make sure you have enough electricity to power the lights that you picked out for the movie. A lot of independent filmmakers will get there and be surprised and have to change things around in order to be able to light the scene the way they wanted to. For Between the Walls, we had to completely rewire the house. It takes a couple weeks to be able to do, so make sure you find that ahead of time. My name's Nick Steering. Check out Between the Walls on DVD.